Hello! Hillary and Derek here. We are here on Sunday. I was going to say Sunday morning, but it's not the morning anymore. Anyways, we are here on Sunday to talk about the behind the scenes that I have promised you in regards to this new transformation that I am currently putting together, molding, crafting, interweaving from different wisdoms that I have within my toolkit as a transformation for you to, yeah, I don't even, it's been blowing our minds, like absolutely blowing our minds. I did not expect it to be this powerful and this transformative. I expected a very significant influence, but not like this. This has just been blowing our minds. It's a subtle process that is ultra powerful, and it works into these levels that these little nooks and crannies, let's say. So anyways, I could go off about that. Who am I and why are we even doing this? My name is Hillary Raven Porter. I am an integrative healer and an ascension guide and mentor. I draw upon various wisdoms within my toolkit to help you as you are stepping over that threshold into the inner truth of your divinity, into that space where you feel vibrantly connected, into that space, not just with other people, but with yourself, because then you will come out and express yourself in a way that is more authentic. You'll have more authentic flow. You'll have more abundance coming into your life. And even interacting with people is way different because you are not coming from a space of fear. You are not coming from a space of survival mode anymore. And things clear up and opportunities come your way. And it's just been, yeah. So we're doing this together. So the Tamiana transformation, I don't know how, I don't know how, why. So full disclosure, Derek is also my partner. So we are doing this process together, and there's also a third person. She has also given me permission to share her information as we move through how this is affecting her, the transformations that she is seeing, the different patterns that she is seeing being switched, and how her life is being affected by this. But for now, it's just me and Derek. But yes, we definitely are working through some layers together, which is, yes. Especially because it's the first two to start with.
Exactly.
The first two layers, right? So what is this transformation, and what are the basics around this, the wisdoms that I'm drawing upon? So one of them is the Tameana Crystal Healing. So Tamiana is a vibrational medicine. It's definitely a medicine for the paradigm. It was channeled by a gentleman down in South America and from the Pleiadian guides. So some symbols are used with crystals, and they're used to activate these pyramids over you. And what they do is they go in and they do psychic surgeries, they remove things, they add things. We just did a session this morning because within the transformation, it's a series of 3 or 4, depending on which master symbol is pulled the very first session. And Derek had one of the advanced master symbols pulled in his first session, which means that it's 4 sessions. It just means it goes deeper and to a more intense level. So we just had his second session this morning, and there was some stuff. There was some bubbling up. There was a little snoozing happening too, a little napping.
I went deep and out for a portion of it.
Yeah,
mega relaxed.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Awesome. It definitely comes, right? The relaxation.
Yeah.
And the sleep. Oh my goodness. I've had other clients, most of them, let's see. Yeah, most of them slept for about 12 hours the night after. It definitely, because you also have a lot of work happening in dream space land. It's a lot on the subconscious, and then you'll notice things bubbling up that you're then processing. But this all happens on the deeper levels.
And going to the bathroom.
Because you're
clearing that out, right?
You're clearing out the spiritual metabolites. Yeah, it's actually been really something we've noticed over this last week as we entered the second layer. But we were like, what is going on? Why is my pee like this in the morning? I drink so much fluid. And then we realized this is why. So drawing upon the wisdom of Tamiana with the crystal healing, and this modality works both locally and virtually. Many of my clients I do this virtually on. We set it up, we set a time together, and you get a chance to relax while I'm on my end doing all the work with the Pleiadian guides. And so what we also did is we created in January during the eclipse essences. of the symbols under the eclipse, amongst other. We ended up making about 29?
In total, yeah.
29 in total essences.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we did symbols and we did crystals.
Yeah.
And
7 for the Tamiana.
Yeah, 7 for the Tamiana. And so basically, this transformation is all about the crystals as well as drop dosing every single day, 1 drop of the essence that relates to the plane. So what we do is we actually move through the 7 planes. When we were doing a Tamiana session, it's about an hour to an hour and a half. We move through the 7 planes, so the seven chakras, the 7 power levels up. And what this 8-week transformation is all about is working through each level at a deeper level. So what the essence drops do is they go in and they're just like, here we go. We are working on that first level, the root chakra. So today we're talking about the root chakra, Sadaha, and the second plane, which is your sacral chakra, which is Nantanamate. So we're working through those 2. And so as you take a drop each day, it helps work through that level. And then paired with this as well, so it's a trifecta of the sessions, the essences, and then guided journal questions to help you on this physical realm, in this conscious realm, go through those planes. Whereas everything else is working on the under layers, those layers that sometimes we're like, I don't even want to touch that. And it's safer not to touch that like fully consciously, but you still need to work through these things to get them cleared out. So that's Tamiana. And that's kind of what this transformation is all about, and some of the wisdoms that we're drawing upon.
I do like to say, too, it's like a full spectrum healing. So it basically goes through everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is super cool.
It's not just like, oh, it's energetic. Great, I'm going to feel some energy. Oh, no. Oh, no.
You do it all, top to bottom.
Top to bottom. And so within the 7 planes, there are also 7 planes. And this is something, so this modality is quite new. I think it was 2007 that this gentleman downloaded these templates. And so there's not much information out on there. So I've been downloading my own information as I've been working with this. My guides have come in, my Palladian guide that comes in, as well as the 7 Sisters one, which I am 8. We also have been channeling more information about how this works. And so there are 7 planes within the 7 planes. So when you were working on plane 1, the first round going up, you were working upon every 7th, like all 7 realms, but very much focusing on 1 within 1. And then when you go up to the second plane, you're working on 1 within 2, and then 1 within 3. And also, I mean, vibratory, right? You think a drop in the puddle, what happens? You get these ripple effects that go out. Same thing, it's rippling out through your whole body, but it's very focused on clearing these things within each plane. So it's been very...
And hits your auric fields as well, too, because you have 7 layers to that, and that also has its 7 zones.
Yeah.
So if you were working on the root chakra and you had all 7, then they would get hit, and then it would go into the physical plane, which is the first layer closest to your body, and then they would all have their 7. They'd turn hypercolor, and then at the end they'll fuse into the root chakra color. Yeah. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it includes all of that, plus more.
Plus more. So what we're going to be doing is, we'd intended to pop on every week, but as we know, we all have lives that happen. So today is going to be a little bit longer, because we're going to talk about the 2 that we have gone through so far. So we actually today started Root 3, which Derek started. So when we take our drops, there are some guidelines around the drops, like not taking it within 20 minutes of food to let it assimilate within your body, right? You don't want to over-influence or wash it away. But I can't take it in the morning, because when I take mine in the morning, my body processes differently. So when I take mine in the morning, I'm like, I just want to go back to sleep. And I get all kind of like, and it makes me kind of very, very fluid and liquidy and just like ready to just crawl into bed and cozy back up. Whereas somebody else processes very, very outwardly.
I get downloads, I get activated, and it's going fast. Within 5 minutes, we're like off in the cosmos somewhere. 100%.
And like very, very outward processing. So when he takes it at night, it prevents him from sleeping. So there's some people, so like I said, Kenda's doing hers as well, so we're going to be tuning in with her and see what her consensus is. Maybe she's a midday person. Who knows, right? But the drops are once a day. So what have we done so far? So we're going to start with the root plane, the root chakra. So I have the essences here that I made as well. I will also let you know that I will also be releasing some of these. I have blends that they have downloaded for me. The root one is called Central Sadaha, but it's Central Mother, and it's Damiana with chamomile, and then Sadaha in there. And when you take it, it was like heat straight up, and it just is like, I don't even know. It was like comfort and just like, like a root, not and bad, but just rooted.
It was your system of your roots. Yeah, I remember that. One of the effects for sure.
That one's intense. So this is, I don't know if you can see that. So this is Sadaha. So this was the stock essence. So it's first you make a mother essence, which is water that is infused with the vibrational, the bioenergetics basically of the symbols are put into the water, and then it's preserved with brandy. And then a couple of drops of that is put into this big bottle. So there's 7 drops in here with more preservative and more water, and then it is succussed. And the more you do that, the more powerful the medicine becomes. It's just like homeopathics. So this is Sadaha. This is what we've been taking all week. They go on, I was taking one, I don't know if you saw it, but I had taken one on my stories, and one of my friends was like, are you taking acid? Because it's on a little square blotter paper, but it's just 1 drop. And it dissolves in the mouth. It's actually just edible paper. So we've been doing that every day with this, 7 days. So this started 2 weeks ago.
And of course, I had my session today, my second one, and then immediately when I get up, I was going to wait till after the video because we're talking about the first 2, and it was the first day where I started my new set, and I immediately took it. I didn't even wait 5 minutes after I got up. It was pretty wild.
And we're in the process as we so we're dealing with the root and the sacral, and we are in the process as well of clearing the house because somebody is moving into the space. And so we are clearing out everything, but it's been like, we have to do this, and through these root chakras and through the sacral chakras, I gotta do it now. And so here's somebody outwardly, you're like processing, while I'm like, well, we're trying to clean up.
I'm getting downloads.
He's getting downloads while we're trying to clean up. It's currently the kitchen, which is also funny because it's all about food and birding and like earth and like.
Yeah, that's the spiritual plane and the physical one meeting together. With cosmic laughter thrown in. For sure.
Oh yeah, cosmic laughter. More work, let's talk.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sadaha, root plane, root chakra. It doesn't just work on the chakra levels though, but that is part of it. So,
you want me to go off a little bit?
What was some of your experience? Yes. What was some of your experience with this
immediately, like in the first plane that you're working with, it connects you to all the base. It's the most dense of all of the planes. Yeah. So you're working with all of the foundations that formed the planets throughout the entire cosmos, the galaxy, and particularly our solar system. But because we've incarnated onto Earth and we have a physical life on Gaia, we're connecting ourselves into Gaia's core. But what that does is it resonates because the core it's a diamond shape, right? But then it has an iron core around it. There's also an inner earth. We can get to that a little bit later. Yeah, exactly. It just comes.
You can just go tangenting.
So what that does is it resonates with all the elements that are on Earth. The physical dense ones, like the minerals, the ones that make up all of our metals. And that's also our crystals. And we have crystalline patterns that we're working on inside of us with these new templates. And it's our natural form as we move from carbon to crystalline. So crystals have those too. So for us to resonate with them just makes perfect sense. And then there's so much crystals being uprooted right now, right? Plane 1, the roots coming out. And each one has medicine for every single being on Earth and can heal absolutely every single thing. So that's very interesting in itself. So communicating with them, activating them, and turning them on when you're working with Tamiana gives you a direct connection. So say you were like, oh, I need appetite right now. And usually when you channel like that, it's the medicine you need. And then you go read about it or you're holding it, you'll just get downloads and know the medicine that needs to come to you. It'll be clearer than what you've experienced before from wherever you're at.
So basically you're able to communicate more clearly with crystal messages. Which is pretty, it's a coming home for a lot of people. And that's what the root is a lot about. It's like home, like who do you feel at home with? It's not just about your physical home, but like where do you feel at home? Yes. Yeah. Who do you feel at home with? How do you feel at home? Like maybe you really love going dancing, and that feels like home to you, but only in a certain way. Sitting on the floor is making my foot go numb. I'm talking about roots. So that's very much that realm. And as you would expect, very much so, the root chakra is sex. Very much sex. We like to call it the teenage template in this household because it's very much the teenage template. But it's not just sex as in, so it's going to depend on where you're at. Yes, it can jack up your sex drive, and because it's just like, it's root, it's activating, it's bringing warmth, it's bringing power, it's bringing energy there. But it also will meet you where you're at in the sense of, are you dealing with trauma? Are you dealing with those moments when you said yes, but you meant no? Not necessarily full-on sexual trauma, possibly where you there's been abuse and stuff, yes, but and there's a caveat to that as well, is it doesn't come in and blast you open in that sense. What we've been noticing is that when you have these spaces of fear, when you have these spaces of trauma on whatever level, because it's relative to whoever you are, so what might be traumatic for one person is not necessarily for another. It's all dependent on the combined experience and that person and that energy. So any kind of traumatic experience for you, it will go in and it allow you to step back, not be detached though. It allows you to look at it from a space of non-judgment, and it removes the fear, and it allows you to look at it and go, oh, okay, that's what that did for me. That was the lesson I've learned. I'm now able to let it go.
Which that taps into Aries too. And that's the very one that goes with the whole root plane.
The root plane.
And it's uprooting that fear. It's taking up those patterns, anxieties, all that stuff. Judgment is a big one.
Judgment is a huge one. So if there are any of the sexual trauma, you could have teenage template happen and you just all of a sudden a bunny for a week. It could totally happen. Or it can go in and it can help unearth and unroot these things that have been rooted in you that you may have thought you had cleared. I'll be very candid here for a moment. There was a lot I thought I had cleared, and we had talked about it before and been like, I was like, oh yeah, totally, I've cleared stuff from my past, it's great. Yeah, no, I've done it. On a conscious level, I had. On a conscious level, I had forgiven. On a conscious level, I had thought I had learned what had to be learned and was like, okay, I'm good, I can move forward. But on a cellular level, fully cellular, there was like a shadow. And I do a lot of cellular work with the medicines that I use, with the wisdoms that I draw upon from, especially the plant medicine. It goes in and it goes into those little nooks and crannies and it peels things out and it flushes things out. And I thought I had done that. And just as we were transitioning from Sadaha into Nantene Mate, so level 1 to level 2, all of a sudden, it was just like, boom, stuff came out, stuff transferred, transformed. And I was like, oh, apparently I hadn't fully released what I thought. And since then, stuff has shifted even further and cleared even further. And I will say that one, it was a pretty intense, it was pretty intense. It was intense. But I was able to look at it and shift it differently than any other time that I had processed on different levels.
And when you do the most intense work, you get the most gains. That's the cool part about it. It's like, oh, I got to deal with this. This is really intense. Especially on the physical plane, it can be sometimes like extremely traumatic.
But it's short-lived.
You do the work. Exactly.
And that's the difference. Yep. And that's what we're also noticing with this medicine is it's short. So you'll be like, flare, and then you're like, oh, I'm good. And you're like, oh, well, that went through, as opposed to flare, 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 and you're like 2-3 weeks through it. You're just kind of like, I think that one was a very intense one day. It was the following day, and it was very intense, and it was just like, okay, I'm going to go inward, I'm going to process what I need to do, but then it didn't stick. And that's what can happen. We get stuck in our heads. And Tamiana's just like, nope, you're not going to get stuck in there. It's going to come up. You're going to process it. You're going to look at it. Non-judgment, no fear. And then it's going to go. And you're like, oh, sweet.
It's a big, quick release. And now when you get to the end of each plane...
always. Not with everything.
That's true.
Depends on where you're at.
It can assist you with that larger release if it's required.
Exactly.
But when you take one plane and you move to the next one, there may be an opportunity or a moment where the bridge between the two has this kind of like blast that can happen. So that's neat in itself too. Because you're not just bouncing over. It's like this interconnected unifying of the two together.
And it definitely shifts. So it's shifting the subtle energies. And we're in this, like I said, our living room is full of stuff right now. So we're kind of in this makeshift space. And that's the thing is I work very much on the subtle energy realm. And that's what I love about Tamiana is it does hit the subtle energies. We are a bit intense in our regular lives with how much of the work we do kind of daily, I would say.
It's 24/7 continuous.
Kind of here. Yeah. And so things come up and move. The clients that I have worked with Tamiana on, they notice deeper sleep. They do notice patterns coming up. They notice the clearing of these energies. And it's often, one of my clients straight up was just like, I didn't enter the same pattern that I did normally. Normally, I would go into self-loathing. I would go into sadness. I would cry. I'd be angry. No, sorry. For her, I would be crying and angry, but not crying and releasing. So it was like crying, angry, self-loathing, like I'm horrible, blah, blah, blah. That stuck very short. And she was able to move into the space she was always trying to move into, which was just releasing it, feeling the sadness, and then moving forward from there. Yeah. And so it allows these pattern shifts, a lot of sleep state, like, oh yeah, I had these images of I didn't realize, but I hadn't actually cleared my father's death. But now I'm able to realize that I can't accept love from somebody else because I didn't feel I could be loved from my father. And so like these kinds of things, just like these realizations, and then they're like, oh, okay. And then they're able to act differently in the next situation with a lot more ease. So yeah. Couple little tangents there, but that Sadaha, another really big one with Sadaha. You had another one.
I just want to say really quick that every layer that you're working on through all 7 planes, each one can take you into your past lives and work on those very elements that work with that plane, and will take you there. Another one, I got some pretty wild stuff. So it stabilizes your gravitational aspects. So we all move.
What does that even mean?
Exactly. What? So everything's quantum right now, and a lot of the new healing modalities are quantum themselves.
So just quantum, can you explain a little bit what quantum means? Because not everybody understands quantum.
Quantum is in the now, the feeling center, non-linear activity.
So basically,
multidimensional.
Is all this week, we're like, what day is it?
Bingo.
And then like we were just talking about laundry, and I was like, yeah, you did laundry like, what, a week ago? And it was like, no, I did it 2 days ago. You know, like you don't really have a linear time. You're not so hung up on today is Saturday, but today is Sunday. So today is Sunday, you know what I mean? Like you're not hung up on it's this time of day. It's very, very, very fluid, but you still make your responsibilities. You still make it to work on time. You still get the kids to school on time. You still get all these things, but it's very now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you have a synchronicity happen, that's very much a quantum effect.
Yeah.
Super cool. So aligning all of your gravitational aspects. So we move around all day, and we have like vertigo effects some people when they stand up high, or even when you lift yourself off the ground, you're using your very foundation that allows your body to move. So what the first plane does in Tamiana is it goes through all of it. So imagine somebody who's working on some spinal issues, or maybe they had an injury perhaps. It would go in there and tweak the very elements that allow you to stabilize. But it also, from high level working as well too, right down to the lower plane, because I do like vibrate up there quite a bit. It's the templates that show us how we even had a body on Earth.
Yeah.
How we can even move and navigate. So if you're always bumping into something, it'll go in there and tweak it up a little bit and help you be a little bit more focused for how you're moving like that. Sometimes
so kind of your proprioceptive centers. So proprioceptive, there's some people that they are hypersensitive, and to help chill them out, what is their relaxing mode is not necessarily sound but it's touch, and it's firm touch and rocking. Because it's proprioception. It's where they feel in relation to the rest of the world around them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's your global GPS as well, too.
Yeah.
Where are you located? You're on Earth. Earth is a planet, and it's flying around the sun. It's your home. You're already in outer space in your biosuit.
And if you think, it like brings up that image, like when you find on the oh my goodness. And this also happens to the wordage. But when you find on the screen, when you're finding your GPS and it shows a little dot and it shows where you're moving around, do you feel at home in every space that you are showing in that little dot, regardless of where it is on planet Earth? Because that's home. That's that little space.
Yep.
So another really big one, so finding yourself at home. The other really big one is seeing yourself clearly for who you are. 100%. Seeing how you look to others fully and completely and clearly. A lot of us have dysmorphia. Our culture kind of breeds that about like you have to look thin, you have to, I mean, now big butts are in, I think, like, you know, small waist, big butt. I don't even know. But then there was like the Christina Aguilera body for a while, like tall and thin. And then even guys are feeling more and more of this pressure as the culture is pushing and shifting and shuffling of like, no, you have to like beards were cool. It's like, no, I need a beard, or I have to have tattoos, or I have to be tall and skinny and I have to have certain muscles this way. And then there became that, I was going to say the aquafit. That's not it. The CrossFit body.
Yeah.
Is there an aquafit body? I don't even know. I love aquafit though, by the way. So maybe I have an aquafit body. I don't even know. CrossFit. So the CrossFit body, you know, like there's these things that we're told. And so it makes us have this dysmorphic view of ourselves, this view, also trauma that can happen, right? Or if you're bullied when you're a child. So if you were pudgy as a kid, I was a fat kid, and I was the one that had the breasts before everybody else and the acne before everybody else, and so I was harassed a lot about that. So my vision of myself definitely has been tainted throughout my life as to how I truly look. I still kind of lived in that plane and in that space of the more mature pudgy kid. That was different because I was definitely the one in the fields looking at birds and talking to animals and all those things. So that just compounded everything. So what this does, frankincense also does this, but frankincense I found didn't last as long. Frankincense was the short period of time that I was using it, maybe lasted about a week. Whereas this one, you truly fully see yourself in the mirror as you fully look. And it sticks. It is stuck now for a couple of weeks for me. I can report back on that and let you know if it keeps sticking. But it's definitely, instead of 90% of the time looking at myself in the mirror and seeing myself completely erroneously, I often see myself a lot heavier than I am. And then 10% of the time truly seeing myself, it's now very much flipped. It's 90% of the time I'm like, oh, that's what I actually look like. And it does affect how you project yourself out there, because now I am not presenting even a short modicum of the time as the personality, as the energetics of the fat kid that was bullied. Right? It's like, no, this is who I am. You are able to more see your self-worth based on who you truly are. So that was a really, really big one for this level. Do you have one more before we move on?
Sure,
a short one?
Yeah, it's a short one.
Short one before, because we still got number 2 to do.
Yeah. Well, what I love about Tamiana is that you get activated clearly, but at the same time, you're fully relaxed. It's like this perfect harmonic balance between the two. You know, Libra and the scales, it feels like that if it's perfectly executed with your energetic fields. So when you're activated and relaxed, it helps. This one obviously works with the first auric layer. So you go in there and you clean up those energetics that are working with all of your physical body. So all the organs, right, they have a physical function. You know, your stomach is helping you digest your foods, but then it's using energy because everything is. So Tamiana gets in there and just works it hard, but yet it's so subtle and chill at the same time. It's amazing.
It's powerful transformations subtly done.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I'm going to just compare it to a physical adage. It's not like, oh, I had to go and get my bone rebroken for them to realign it. That's a pretty, like, if we think about it, that's a pretty intense image of like having to actually go in and crack our bone. It's a physical breaking. It's intense. But there is a breaking of sorts of the patterns and the energetics that are in there. But it's also like psychic surgeries. Do you mind if I share one of yours from today?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, for example, one of the ones today, my guide, so when you're a practitioner of Tamiana, you are, I don't want to say gifted a guide, but I never know what to say. They basically come and gift themselves to you to help you as you are doing these. They're the ones that go in and do the psychic surgeries and laying of templates and stuff like that. And then when I do my sessions as well, I channel information that they're sending me and I write it down and then we talk about it. But today there was one, and it was very much going in, and it was on Derek's voice box.
Yeah. Throat area.
On the throat area, and all of a sudden there was like these little needles of light being placed around his voice box, and I could see them very clearly going and being placed around. And then it was laid in with a dream catcher with a crystal right in the middle, a like very diamond-like crystal straight in the middle, and then they laid over that with like a bandage, but it was a bandage of green, of the earth, of the moss, of the healing of the mother. Oh, it was very much greens today, and it was like auric field imbued with emerald green. And then, yeah, and then that was just placed over and smoothed over. And that was the surgery that happened today. There was a couple other things that happened because all the levels get a little bit of work. But they find I had a treatment the other day, and it was all needles of light being sewn into the heart. And the person after the session was just like, yeah, so I felt the stuff on my heart and like all these things cleared. So they go in and they help to transmute the stuff that is happening in the space where you need it at whatever level you're at. And that's what's so beautiful about this is it's like if you have done a lot of spiritual work or if you've done no spiritual work, it does not matter. It's going to meet you where you're at and help clear the things. There was
Exactly.
a mystic market. I did a mystic market, and one of my friends showed up and was like, hey, hop on the table, let me give you a session. And I gave her a little session, and I did some of the essences and stuff, and she's like, I didn't even know I needed that. And she was like, but now this, and this is cleared. And she wasn't even aware that that was holding her back. And that's what's so beautiful about this medicine.
Yep.
Okay, should we move on to Nantanamate?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to move on to Nantanamate. So Nantanamate.
And I mean, to be honest, that's only a small portion of everything that took place.
We had to go, we have a notebook.
We had to condense it, or it'd be like a 19-hour video.
Yeah, we had to, yes. I was like, okay, let's go through and find our most potent things that we want to talk about because we literally have books just flowing out of us. So Nantanamate is the sacral chakra, so it's up from the root. So the root is at like the base of your spine. This one's up kind of like in your dantian. So the dantian is, I'm not standing up so you can't see it, but it's like right below your belly button kind of. And that's like our pearl. That's where we hold a lot of our power. It is also, so our sacral chakra, or I call it the sacral plane, sacral power center. And so, yeah.
You want me to start off?
You start off.
Okay.
What's your first most powerful one?
Most powerful one is that so it's the very source of your creativity in general. Everything that embodies creativity. But what it does is it unlocks new creative neurons and puts them together, literally, inside of your sacral region, and then they correspond up in your whole cranial region as well too. So if you're feeling creatively blocked, or you're not expressing yourself in ways that you wanted to, being your authentic self, particularly in modes of things that make you excited and happy. It could be anything from painting to making music. It doesn't really matter. You're writing, you're doing poetry, you're trying something new. If you have a block inside of you, it will go in there and do some massive work on that. But it does advanced work too for people who've done a lot of work because it'll stimulate more of those subtle energies and it'll just unlock, oh, I didn't realize that was still there, but I've always been creative for the last 20 years. Yeah, you think so? And then it goes in there and does more.
It's true.
It's awesome.
Not enough time in the day to nourish the stuff that's been coming out of us.
And then you may have memories too surface of creative endeavors that you've had in past lives, future lives, or stuff that you did maybe when you were younger, but now you want to reapproach them again with an adult or the new wisdom or knowledge that you have. It's really nice. And that's one of the very things that we need to work on is unlocking the full template of what a human being really is.
It's true.
Yeah, creative center.
Yep.
How do we make anything out in the world if we don't get creative? You see it in buildings everywhere.
And it doesn't even have to be art. Like fine arts tend to be where people go out there like, oh, you're a poet or you're a writer or you paint or you draw. But creativity happens with how am I going to juggle this schedule that I have? And you have to creatively look at it.
Yeah, I think I'm stumbling with that one too.
Oh my God, creatively. Creatively.
Hey! There we go! Nice work.
So, let's see. So one thing that we did, I wanted to touch base on that we actually, because we talk about this stuff. We're like, okay, you know what happened to me yesterday? You know what happened? And what's been very interesting is the synchronicity that's been happening with the stuff that we come upon on our own throughout the day. And then when we come back and we talk about it over dinner or while we're prepping breakfast or whatever, and we'll be like, oh yeah, I totally came up with that too. Or I found this side of that. Or like the stuff that because you have to remember, we are all still collective consciousness. And we also come from, so we believe we came from the same Modan. So we got the Modan and then the Oversoul. So there's like 144 that came from one soul dust, one star dust, and then it splits off into 12, and then those split off into 12. And that's what we call our soul relationships, our soul partners, the whatever you may call them. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It could be like an animal in your life. It could also be your child, but you're like, I know you, you're part of my star seed, you're part of my soul seed, right? And so you can have those vibrations coming with other people that are from that same star seed, but also we are all one collective consciousness. So it stands to reason. You've probably noticed where all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, why is everybody grumpy today? And there's no reason for it. Or when I was working retail at Michael's, people would come in and I would see amongst the hundreds of people I would see a day, collectively the same energy coming through, or people be like, I am having a hard time thinking today, I couldn't get the kids out the door today, that kind of thing. And it would be collectively across the majority of people. So it was really crazy. So we have noticed this consciousness as we were moving through this. So it's been a really interesting thing. And one of the ones that we talked about was the difference between the donations from our parents, from the root chakra versus the sacral chakra. So we have donations from our parents as sperm and eggs, right, as actual DNA. And then we also have donations from our parents energetically. And there's a lot of talk about this around the mother line and the father line that comes through. So the mother line and father line comes through, and it very much influences their energetics. If they haven't healed something, it is now us that have to heal it, or else we pass it on to the next generation, because energetically we are still vibrating with whatever it is that has not been healed moving forward. But then we also have the DNA donation. So the sacral chakra, the sacral plane, is all about that energetic donation from our parents. The stuff that we are given from them, which is also interesting because it's kind of around the kidney level. And the kidneys in Chinese medicine are pre-heaven essence. And pre-heaven essence is what we get from our mother and our father.
Wow.
Right? And also, so like I said, I made combination tinctures. They're coming in sets of 3. I didn't pull them out here right now. This is the Tamiana essence that we made, but then the triple one is, I can't remember what it's called, Central Soul.
There we go.
And it's Paritaria diffusa pellitory of the wall with, I don't remember what
You're
the
the
third
herb master.
one. Oh, lavender and lavandula.
That's right.
And then Nantanamate. And so Paritaria diffusa, pellitory of the wall, is all about the kidneys. It's all about our mother and father line and our donations from past lives coming down, also from our past lives, but from the mother and father specifically. And it helps us clear those pathways. So that paired with the Nantanamate, when we took it, we were just like, oh, and that's where these started to come up. So if the sacral is all about the energetic donation from our parents, the root chakra is all about the DNA donation, which makes sense.
Yep.
Because what do we have to do is have sex to create the children. And so DNA donation versus the energetic donation.
And DNA's in the very fabric that makes up the entire universe.
Yeah.
Every living being has the DNA, and it all interconnects.
And
it's
DNA
like
is fractal.
right?
I was going to say,
exactly.
is the
there
fractal, which Tamiana is, because you take one plane and you have every plane within that one plane. And then if you took one plane within that plane, you would then have 7 planes again, and just,
which some know as a Fibonacci sequence. It kind of follows a similar algorithm, but they each have their own. There's like many versions of it. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's been really interesting that way. Do you have another one?
Do I have another one? Oh, I got lots of goodies. So it connects you to plant, animal, and elemental medicines and the spirit guides that you're working with them. So your communications that you have. So like if somebody has like an animal totem, or there's way more than say just the fairies and the gnomes and the mermaids. It goes way deeper than that. But those ones there, that is a connection. We take it as fantasy. Those things are actually reality. So it sets those signals off so you can have all sorts of intercommunications. And if you haven't found your spirit guides before, you may come in contact with them in the session for the first time and realize they've been there with you all along. And that even in physical form, you're working with that too. So it's a cyclical dance that you do. And Gaia is a circle, right? Planets are circular. It's very fascinating how that all taps in together. So yeah, it basically just gets you in there. And
we have our notes. That's what you keep seeing us look at.
And the second plane is all about the plants and the animals. It's the very foods and nutrients that we eat. and how we nourish ourselves as well too. So they're all interconnected because nature's one big dance. Think of the second plane as a huge portion of our connection to nature and organic, natural flow and evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the power. Can you feel the power? Yeah, this is what. So this has only been 2 weeks.
Yes.
And it's amazing.
It's off the charts.
Off the charts, because something
voltage.
So we have all these stuff coming through us. So you also have to take into account we're channelers. We channel a lot of information. We are like conduits for this information. And what I found that has been one of the biggest bonuses, benefits, I don't even know, but one of the biggest like things is the clarity that we see with our vision. So that's like the increased sensations. We've had increased clarity. So things are more saturated. So, you know, like if you think of childlike wonder where they're like, whoa, did you see that beautiful rainbow? And for them, you can just imagine it was just like, oh, right? Like this beautiful,
blows their
mind. Blows their mind. Or they see a sunset, or even they just come in like I said, we've been rearranging the house and even like rearranging Zeph's room, and he walks in, he's just like, because everything is just like new. It's his stuff. We've rearranged stuff and grabbed a couple new things and stuff, but it's just like this sense of awe and like newness. And so that's one thing that I've definitely noticed as we're moving through this is this sense of like, we already kind of live in this heightened abundant state in this house anyways, but now it's clear. Any of that stagnation stuff that's kind of like kicking around behind, I was just like, oh, that's cleared out. Not ruminating about things, not worrying about things. We're clearing our physical space, but it also feels as though the physical space, physical, not outward physical, inward physical, is being cleared, and it's expansive, and it's just that sense of awe, that sense of like, if you go exercise, I always go back to this one, but you know, where you have that like flow, or when you've been creating, when you've been painting, and you get into this zone, and you're just like, whoa, everything is clear and you can see things for what they really are. That's what this has been, and it sticks and it's there daily and throughout. So we talked about body with the root and the clarity of that. So this one allows you an awareness of your body. Nantanamate, sacral chakra, sacral plane, is about your body awareness. It helps you, it doesn't make you, it helps you realize that nothing of your body is vestigial. So that means that nothing of your body is unneeded. If you tune into your body right now, what area of your body have you numbed? What area of your body have you been like, I don't need that? Whether it's been, I go back to trauma, because a lot of us, there's trauma on so many levels, but you've experienced something and you're just like, no, I know that I've hurt my leg and I don't really feel my leg anymore. I'm numb to it, or I'm numb to my hands. I use them, but I don't really feel them. Maybe there was something that happened to you that way. Maybe you don't feel your stomach. Maybe you've had eating disorders, or not even full disorders, but like just challenges with food. And so you've numbed yourself out to how it actually feels to intuitively eat and feel your stomach. So this is talking about your physical outside body, but physically everything that is within your body. So you've tuned out a lot of, I will raise my hand right here. I have challenges with food my whole life. Once again, I was a pudgy kid and I was bullied for it. And so I would use food as the way to control my life, because that was the only thing I could control. I had no sensation for the longest time. I didn't know how to intuitively eat. I just put food in my body. That's it. It was like, food goes in, or I don't put food in because I can control that. Then that moment where I switched that over, it was multiple years ago now, probably about a decade ago now, but it was with me for like 20 years of my life. There was this, all of a sudden, this sense of like, oh, that's what my stomach feels like. That's what it feels like to be full. That's what it feels like to be okay with this part of my body. So that's what Nantanamate does, is it allows you, it reminds you, it awakens those spaces that you have numbed out. But it doesn't just awaken them so that you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to feel this, it hurts, whatever. It awakens them and allows you once again to see them from a space of non-fear and a space of non-judgment. And be like, oh, hey, it allows you to approach these spaces with a sense of love, which is beyond the highest, finest vibration and healing vibration that there is out there. So yeah.
Wow. Huge stuff. Can I throw one more out there?
Yes.
Time for it?
You have time.
Okay.
Let's do another one.
You get lost. So the Akashic Records, that is the cosmic internet without the computer. Like the whole cosmos is one giant internet. So you have one for yourself, and one for humanoids, and then you have one for planet Earth, and then for your solar system, and for your galaxy, and for the multiverse. You can tap into it at any point. It's like we're talking to you right now. Just ask it a question and you will receive it. It's super cool. So the second plane taps you into the emotional Akashic records of yourself. And obviously the other ones that I listed. But then you can do a lot of that clearing for whatever you need to work on. Super cool. And the emotions heal our physical dis-ease that we have in the body. So the two correlate so well together. So you get the database just coming out. And that the sacral area is all about our emotions. More so in a physical sense, meeting feeling centers. Mm. We haven't quite gone up to the third eye and the crown yet. Wait till we get there.
Yeah. We've already taken these essences
You're gonna have to pull us back down, right? Somebody said the other day.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Good thing we're in the, age of Aquarius?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you were saying before with using your senses.
Mm-hmm.
And so your touch, your feeling, your sight and all that comes up and all the emotions that you have around it. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool stuff. Mm-hmm. So those are big ones to watch. When those pop up, that's a key point right there. There's your key code. Work on that one. And you will have success.
So Derek also has his own page called The Cosmic Messenger. Yeah. You can always follow him on there as well. He goes into key codes and affirmations and stuff like that. And he goes into a bit more of the, I talk spirit, and he goes a bit
multi-dimensionary.
He goes a bit more multi-dimensionary, for sure. So that, like we said, that is just like a portion of what we are finding that this vibrational medicine combination that I'm currently creating is doing. And this is just, like I said, we have booklets on this stuff. So we will be coming on again in a week or two. I'm not quite sure. We have to take a look at our schedules, but we are going to definitely do another update. I'm also going to be posting behind the scenes some written words for you behind the scenes, a little bit more about what the tabs actually are, how the essences were made, those kinds of things, a little bit more about what this process is. I'll be posting some more of the words that I have written as well in my book. I've been giving complete snapshots of just like, here, this is what I wrote, unedited, unfiltered for you, because I am doing this so that I can walk along beside you when you are moving through this transformation as well. It's an 8-week course. I am also putting that out there right now. If you would like to be on the wait list, I will be putting a call out in a couple of weeks for the wait list. Because there will be limited sessions being offered. I only have so much time in the day, and I want to try and fit in as many transformations as I can, because I feel they are so powerful. So keep your eyes peeled in this space, and I will be posting that when that wait list opened, when those doors open for the transformations to begin. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message. I always love hearing from you, and I'm always able to answer any questions that you may have about the process, about how this may be beneficial to you, about if this is something that is right for you in this moment, in this now.
Yes. It was a pleasure chatting with you. We'll be back for another round.
We will be back for another round. Mm-hmm. And so much love and stardust. We now have to go finish organizing, putting the kitchen back together. Literally everything is out of the cupboards right now. No, that's a lie. We've put 2 shelves back.
The oversoul of the kitchen.
The oversoul of the kitchen. Oh. Okay, so much love and stardust. We will see you soon. Have the great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, have fun surfing the cosmic waves.
Okay,
bye-bye.
Bye.